Hello. I'd like to discuss a slightly complicated case that illustrates the importance of searching both by means of HOLLIS and by means of records in the main spreadsheet. Here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at 3 cards that record various editions of the same work. We have this card, and then these cards here and here. Let's take a look at these cards for a moment before we begin searching for records. On the card here, toward the bottom of the corner of your screen, you'll see 3 records for different editions of the same work. There is a 1910 edition, the first edition of this work, Abnormal Psychology. There is a 1914 edition, second edition of that work. And then there is a 1921 reprinting of the second edition. And now you'll see 2 distinct call numbers on this card. A BML style BML call number with no date, and then an HML style BML call number with an embedded date. But now if you look up here, you'll see a card for the 1910 edition, and then a card for the 1914 edition with rather different call numbers, not quite fitting the format either of the standard BML style BML call number or the HML style BML call number, because with these call numbers, the dates are appended at the end. Okay, let's see what we can find in HOLLIS first. Let's start by searching on 19033. So we'll search under call number -other. And what we'll get are 3 very promising looking records. In fact, what I notice first of all is the presence of these non-standard, what I'm calling non-standard call numbers, records corresponding to them, 1910, 1914. Let's click on the 1910. So you'll notice that the descriptive cataloging information matches up very nicely with what we see on this card. The page numbers, publication place and year, everything matches very well. The call number is the same as on this card, 19033 1910, and the copy is held in rare books. So that would suggest that this card should be marked CHOM, and then you can leave it alone. Now, there's another holding statement, another CHOM holding statement corresponding to 19033. So that's something worth noting, since that would suggest that it corresponds to this record. We'll just make a note of that for now. Now let's go back. And now let's look at the 19033 1914 record. And when we pull up the information there, we find that the descriptive cataloging data corresponds very nicely to what we see on this card. Pagination, publication, year and place, call number all match very nicely. There is only one Countway holding statement here, and it is a rare books holding statement, a CHOM holding statement. So that suggests very strongly that this card should be marked CHOM and left alone. Now, let's go back and look at the top record. This is the same holding statements as we saw in the other bib record. So this doesn't necessarily afford us any new information. And in fact, if you were to try to run a HOLLIS search, if you were to try to run a HOLLIS number search in the spreadsheet using this HOLLIS number, you wouldn't get a hit. In fact, cutting to the chase, I will point out that in the spreadsheet, you will only find 2 records corresponding to this work. They're here at lines 2064 and 2068. And they correspond to one item under the call number 19033 and one corresponding to the call number 1921-6. And when you look, you'll find that both of those records in the spreadsheet have been suppressed. And so you won't find these records under a HOLLIS search at all. And the way that you can find those records really is to attempt to search directly in the spreadsheet, perhaps under the title of the work, under the call number, or under the author's name. But you can go ahead and mark those 2 records accordingly. This record at line 2064 should be marked as BML ownership, and then the record with the 1921 call number should be marked HML. Going back to our cards, we can summarize as follows. These 2 records we can mark as CHOM because the only works that correspond to those call numbers are in fact held in CHOM. We verified that. As we looking at these cards here, we can make some determinations. The 19033 record from 1914 is in fact held off-site. The 1921 record is also held off-site. Those were the 2 records that we accounted for in the spreadsheet. And the 19033 record at the top corresponds to an item held in CHOM. And so you can see that to determine ownership and location of these items requires some scouting both in HOLLIS and in the spreadsheet. But in the end,